Sony has just dropped two new models to the A7C line, the A7C II and surprisingly the A7CR.
Yeah, and we're going to talk you guys through the headline specs of these units. We're not going to do a proper full deep review because these are pre-production units and that simply won't be fair, but we'll talk you through the specs and we'll talk you through some interesting cool new features that Sony has put into these units.
Now when we look at these two units, they are quite familiar in terms of its specs. The A7C II is basically an A7 IV, but with some extra stuff, and we'll get into that extra stuff a little bit later. The A7CR is basically an A7R5 with some stuff extra, but also with some stuff taken away. Now, in terms of some quick headline specs, we've got 33 megapixels here. We've also have 61 megapixels here. The A7CR, you can shoot 8 frames per second. The A7C II, we can do 10 frames per second. Both is running on the Bion's XR processor, and both has the new AI chip that's built into these units.
Yeah, then in terms of the video capabilities of these units, they are absolutely identical. So you have 4K 30 in both of them. You also have 4K 60, but your 4K 60 does come with a crop, and to our eye it looks like it crops down to a Super 35, so essentially an APS-C frame size on that. Then you also have Sony's very well-known XAVC and XAVC-HS file formats within these, and you have all of the profiles that you've come to know and love. So yes, S-Log3 is in there. And then in terms of the actual recording bitrate, both of them are capable of 422 10-bit internally.
Now, seeing that these two units feature the AI processing chip from Sony, they give you a lot of cool advantages in terms of autofocus for photo and video. Specifically when it comes to the new feature from Sony, that auto framing in video mode that we've seen in the ZV-E1, where the camera can sort of slowly pan in and follow your face around as you move around in the frame. That is available in both of these two cameras.
Yeah, and then just in terms of the stills performance on specifically the autofocus side. So it has their real-time recognition software, which essentially utilizes that AI chip to deliver you what at the moment is, bar none, the best face and eye tracking autofocus on the market, period. There is nothing better. We saw it for the first time in the A7R5 and it absolutely blew us away. And it's no different here. It works so well. It is absolutely phenomenal. It sticks, it finds a target. It is simply the best autofocus on the market right now, period.
Another great feature that's trickled down to these units is the MLUT feature from Sony. So that allows you to import custom LUTs to your card, put it on the camera, and this is great for just checking your exposure when you are shooting in S-Log.
Yeah, very, very handy feature. And of course, it doesn't bake into your S-Log, so you don't lose any of your editing capabilities in post. Really, really nice feature from Sony and very cool to see it in these cameras. Now, the other thing that we need to touch on here, of course, is the actual body designs. And there's a couple of interesting things here. So firstly, it uses Sony's FZ100 battery. So very nice, decent battery life. We've seen it all across the board. Very, very good there. Some of the things that are maybe not so good straight off the bat is the fact that there's only one card slot and it is an SD card slot. But that makes sense. The body is a lot more compact. I kind of get that. The thing that didn't sit so well with me is the upgrade to the screen and the viewfinder within these units. And that's kind of parts of it that come from the A7C1. And it's unfortunate to see, but I mean, I'm sure Sony has a reason for it. Everything else though, solid. It feels good, it sits really well in the hand, it's a very nice size, it's nice and compact, everything feels good. I really like that they've included the front dial here now. So on this unit right now, you have 4 dials that you can assign, which is really handy. You've got your front on the top there, and of course the one on the back. everything here feels like good, solid Sony.
Yeah, having these extra custom dials on the camera is great. And also, we've been comparing it to the R5 and the A4, and these bodies are a lot smaller, making them great for travel, sort of lightweight companion. So the last thing to mention is just the stabilization in these units. Both is doing 7 stops of stabilization. So comparative to the R5, that is 1 stop less. And then comparative to the A4, that is about 1.5 stops extra. So a little bit of a give and take there. Now throughout this video, we've mentioned the R5 and the A7 IV quite often, but that's not really fair because these two cameras are replacing the original A7C, which was the first time we saw a small full frame from Sony in the market. And comparative to that model, these are huge upgrades. Massive improvement in megapixels, better improvement in video, the capability of the AI framing, the MLUT imports, you name it. There's a lot of extras that they've sort of jammed into these two bodies.
Yeah, it is really a massive, massive step up when you compare it to that original A7C. And the other thing that I personally find very interesting here is that Sony, in these models, they seem to be kind of conglomerating a lot of their features together. A lot of the stuff that we've seen in new Sony models over the last year, like year and a half period, are coming together into units like this. And that's really encouraging for me because I want to see that AI chip in absolutely everything. I want that MLUT feature across the board because it's such a cool feature to have. And of course, just all the other stuff that they've jammed in here. Like, yeah, differentiate on megapixels and other capabilities, but we're all running the same processing chip. We're all running the same feature set at base. And I really like that. And we've seen it from other manufacturers doing similar things, kind of giving you different bodies, slightly different feature sets, but that core and the performance all being the same. And I really, really like that. In some instances, the feature set is a little bit less than in those cameras, but in some instances, you're getting more. Yeah, and that's really, really cool. And that could make these cameras a pretty interesting option within the market.